Hello and good evening everybody, and welcome back for some more OCD reading. Now, I do appreciate it's been a week and a half, roughly, since you last had a reading session with me. However, for me it's been closer to 3.5 weeks. Due to, holidays and that. But anyway, I would like to assure you that this series is back and is going to finish. And while I'm here, I'll introduce you to my therapy buddies. Look. 1, 2, 3, and 4. In case you're wondering, I still haven't yet to get an octopus pun name for this little guy. But that's irrelevant. For tonight, we read. If I can get this right. There we go. That's better. Now let's see if I can remember where we were, shall we? I mean, technically I had this little bookmark here, but you know what I mean. Right. Okay, we are reading about Johnson's behavioural experiment. Now there's a ton of this. Yeah, so I'll be reading through this. So we'll get through the pages. Now, although technically my voice is better, this may be a shorter one tonight than normal, just in case, Don't want to push my luck. Whereas this is regarding, Right. Johnson's behavioural experiment. Excuse me. Itchy nose. Planned experiment. Going to the church and having a thought about sex. Naughty boy. Specific predictions and how much I believe them. I could be plagued with further thoughts about going to hell. There is a 100% chance that will happen. Or I could be so anxious that I will make a fool of myself and feel more disgraced. There's no percentage given for that one. So that's an unsure one. Now we've got to complete. We've got things here we need to complete after the experiment. So I'll leave that there long enough to read. Okay, but I'm going to go through it. Just in case you don't want to hear me talk about it. So, after the experiment, did the predictions come true? I did have a lot of other thoughts I found disturbing, but I stayed in the church. I did feel very anxious for most of the service, but I did not make a fool of myself or feel disgraced. Several people came up to me to chat and once I got talking, I found the thoughts easy to ignore, and my anxiety went down to about 20%. Conclusions. Hans said that he had lots of other thoughts as well. He reminded me that most people would, and that the thoughts are just thoughts. I've been trying to control my thoughts or avoid having thoughts in the first place, and it has made me feel worse. This has been a real challenge for me. I stood up to the temptation to give in to the OCD, and I feel proud of myself. It was good to see my friends. So does this fit with Theory A or Theory B? This fits best with Theory B. When I treat thoughts as just thoughts, my anxiety decreases and I feel better. See? Little tangent, this is me talking now. The thing to remember about thoughts is that they are just that. They are just thoughts. They do not define who you are. Okay? It doesn't matter how dark and some of the thought is. Okay? That does not define you. Acting out that thought, depending on what the thought is, will define. Actually, it's on all thoughts. I mean, if you have thoughts about, say, helping out a soup kitchen, and you do it, then that does define you as a person. Because then you'll be someone who volunteered at a soup kitchen. If you had a dark thought about killing someone, that does not define you. But if you decided to actually live out that thought, then yes, that would define you. Am I making sense? See, it's like what's in here does not define you. What's out here, what we do out here, defines us. Good Lord, my hand looks huge. Perspective. Wonderful thing. Anyway, back to it. I'm sure that made some sense to you all. Excuse me, this cold has left me with a cough. Actually, this happens every year to me. Every year around about this time, I get a cold. It hangs on for a bit. And then the cough stays. I see a doctor and they say come back in 6 weeks. 6 weeks later, the cough is gone, so I can't really do much about it. Just gotta live with it for now, I think. Okay. Earlier, we identified some of the common behaviours and beliefs that maintain a problem with OCD. Sorry, let's read that again. Earlier, we identified some of the common behaviours and beliefs that maintain a problem with OCD about religion. You'll see how letting the thoughts come and go, or ignoring the thoughts, is a key strategy in getting rid of the problem. And now we have another little thing. What are these things? That's the one. Safety-seeking behaviour. Try not to think about it, otherwise known as thought suppression. How does it keep the problem going? Suppressing thoughts actually generates more thoughts. Now you remember we covered this before. So I'm going to tell you something now, okay? But you can't think about it, okay? But do not, under any circumstances, think about World War II, okay? Do not think about it. I know you learnt about it in school and you've seen the films, you've seen the shows, and if you're interested here, you've probably read a few books. Whatever you do not think about it, okay? Never happened. Do not think about it at all, okay? Safety-seeking behaviour. Trying to think about something else, otherwise known as thought substitution. This is buying into the idea that the thought is significant and wrong, and that it is necessary to get rid of it by substituting another thought. The original thought is likely to come back again and more. So what do? We let the thoughts come and go. We make notes of whether predictions about how bad it would be came true, were we as anxious as predicted, or for as long as we predicted. Selective attention to thoughts or body parts. Sorry, that's a safety-seeking behaviour, by the way. Being on the lookout for thoughts makes them more noticeable. Being anxious can lead to many changes in bodily sensations. By paying attention to his genitals, he guaranteed that he would notice some changes. Okay, this is taking a strange turn. So what do? Let thoughts come and go. Don't monitor your body. Very good. That is very true. Do not monitor your body, people, okay? Otherwise you'll be seeing stuff that you thought was there, that you think is new, but isn't. It's like, I'll show you. Actually, you can barely see it. It's like a faded mole right about here. I saw it and I thought, that's not good. But it turns out it's them photos from 20 years ago. I don't know if you can see it or not. Probably not, it's faded. But it's always been like that. I found photos from 20 years ago where you can barely see it too. On to the next page. Religious OCD behavioural experiments troubleshooting. Now, as I've said before, I'm not a religious person. However, some people are, which is why there's a section in the book, and that is why I'm still reading it. Now, I will admit, okay, because I'm not a particularly religious person, I can't really bring many personal thoughts and experiences into this section. But I know some of you watching may be religious, so if you are, let me know if this resonates with you. Of course, you don't have to talk about the weird thoughts you've had, because, you know, they're personal. That's fine. But if you have had experiences with such things, let us know. Let us know you're doing better about it, alright? Or if you're not, is this book going to help you? Has what I've read helped? You know, all that other stuff. Anyway, on to it. I can't bring myself to do it. It feels so wrong. Remember that we all have cultural, moral, or religious values that govern behaviour. The idea that we are violating these values or rules feels very powerful and frightening. Step back and think whether what OCD makes you do really does fit with your true beliefs and values. But won't I be going against God by doing the behavioural experiments and stopping my rituals? This is an easy one. No matter what your religion, there is no way that God wants people to suffer OCD at all. Let alone a type of OCD that gets in the way of you having a good relationship with God. God wants you to serve him through love, not to feel constantly terrified. If you could ask, God would pretty much certainly say, please get rid of your OCD so that we can have a better relationship. That's nice. See, that's the sort of God I like. Not the one that says, just don't have OCD. I like this new God. This very modern, progressive one. I like it. Or her. Or they. How can I be sure that I'm not going to hell? Discussing your problem with a clever and compassionate leader of your faith can be very helpful. Remember to focus on building up your evidence for Theory B, that this is a problem of anxiety and worry. Remember how OCD has taken away your ability to practice and enjoy your religion. This bad thing has already happened. The future. What happens if you continue to treat the religious OCD problem as one of worry? Once you have done some behavioural experiments, you should be able to see that the evidence points in one direction. That the religious OCD has been bullying you into believing that there is something wrong with you. Or that you are a bad person, that there is something dangerous going on. Sorry, get this page turned in a second. Okay, done again. Let's start the sentence again. Where are we? Oh, that's a long one. Okay, let's start this paragraph again, alright? Because it's like one long sentence. Once you have done some behavioural experiments, you should be able to see that the evidence points in one direction. Not the bad people, just one direction in general. That the religious OCD has been bullying you into believing that there is something wrong with you, or that you are a bad person, and that there is something dangerous going on in your thoughts. If you really accept the problem you have is one of worry and fear, and live accordingly by acting against your fears, we predict that the anxiety will over time decrease, and you will be able to abandon your obsessional ways. Once you take courage and do some behavioural experiments, you can find out for yourself that it really is possible to do things differently. Now you can incorporate that into your life and begin to do some of the things that OCD has stopped you from doing for so long. Our experience is that once people stop having to do loads of rituals to make sure they have not blasphemed or offended God, they are able to develop a much more positive approach to their faith. Johnson looked at his goals for the future. He really wanted to go on a trip with his church friends. He had been scared to do so as he thought he would be consumed with intrusive thoughts and would not be able to leave when he wanted. He decided to sign up for the trip and started to look forward to it. When he went, he found that he did have some difficult times when he found himself thinking blasphemous or sexual thoughts. Another person noticed he was quiet at these times and asked him if he was okay. Johnson told her that he had some problems with anxiety and worry, that sometimes he found it harder than other times. She offered him sympathy and support. As the trip went on, Johnson found he was spending far more time enjoying himself than he was thinking about OCD. Breaking free from other types of OCD. As should be clear from this and previous chapters, everybody's different and unique. And everybody's OCD is also different and unique. That's what the book says, I'm not repeating myself. However, it is possible to categorise the focus of OCD in a number of ways. For example, washing versus checking. Thoughts of having done something potentially harmful versus thoughts that a harmful thought might happen. We have already explored the fact that people with contamination fears can be worried about contamination by germs, by poisons, or even by places or people linked to bad memories. Excuse me. There are similar variations in other types of OCD. It should come as no surprise then that some people suffer from OCD symptoms that do not easily fall into the categories discussed so far in the book. So does this mean that if you have an unusual form of OCD, you won't be helped by CBT and the ways of applying it discussed in this book? Good news. The answer is that you will be helped. That's nice, isn't it? I think so anyway. You'll see from reading the last few chapters that whatever form of OCD you have, OCD works in the same way and uses many of the same tricks to keep itself going. This is very important information as OCD can sometimes be there in more than one form or can change over time. We've guided you through our detailed case examples from understanding of how OCD became and remained a problem, to how the person used this knowledge to get rid of the OCD bully and get their life back. The basis of breaking free from other commonly encountered types of OCD are the same, with the details being different. In each case, an alternative worry-based explanation needs to be identified and tested out. A key part of testing it is to carry out behavioural experiments to confirm that the problem is one of worry, and where possible to discover that not only does anxiety and distress decrease, but also it may be possible to discover that the things you fear will not happen. In any event, it will always be possible to discover that the discomfort decreases and will disappear if you are able to stop ritualizing. Some examples of other types of OCD fears include: number 1, I worry that something bad might happen. If I don't avoid unlucky numbers / cancel out my thoughts / follow a ritual. 2, I'm worried I've hurt someone without knowing it. 3, I feel very uncomfortable if things are not in the right place. Now, unfortunately, this is going to be the end, as you can probably tell by looking at the clock. As you can probably tell, my voice isn't quite the way it was when it started, but we've made a start and we've made progress. And as you can see, we have read this much and we have this much left, which is not a lot. And the good news, I've already got another book lined up after this. But tonight, I'm going to have to leave it because my throat. But I've gone back into the reading, which is a great thing. And you have all been reminded of what we've been doing here. Now, of course, you can go back and watch the previous videos. If you have time, I suggest you do so. Because, a few counts always helps. But anyway, that's it from me tonight, unfortunately. I'm going to rest my throat now. Because, don't want to cause more harm than good. We have made progress tonight. We have learned something. And I hope you have too. So until next time, take care of yourselves, okay, people? Bye.